everyone, and welcome again to another crochet infusion. Thank you all so much for being here today. So today I want to show you all how to crochet my Baby Flutter Fairy. She is just here, as you can see her. I do have her as a written pattern as well. You can by all means print that off and follow the pattern along with the tutorial if you wanted to. So for this tutorial you are going to need a selection of colours. I have gone with rainbow colours. You don't have to do her in rainbow colours. I just thought she would be really nice in rainbow colours, more just to present obviously our current time with the pandemic and everything going on. But she is there to take any worries away for whatever, you know, just as a comfort little fairy. She uses a magic wand with a fairy dust. She comes with a little blanket attached to her hand. She's got a little bib and a little rainbow on the bib. You don't have to do the rainbow colours. And then she's got her antennas at the top. She's got her wings at the back as well. So yeah, she is, I have made her with Aran yarns. The yarns that I did use are by Paintbox yarns. You don't have to use Paintbox yarns at all, but on the back of the Paintbox yarns are the colour lots codes, which I'm going to put a whole description of all the yarns with the colours, with the colour yachts, if you did want to purchase the Paintbox yarns. This is not at all any kind of promotion or you know, selling or anything like that for Paintbox. This is just literally what I have used for this project. So I've gone with Aran yarn, Paintbox yarns. My selection of colours, the names of them are all on each label, which I've actually wrote all the names of the colours down, but in the tutorial I'm just gonna say the colours as they are, as we know them. So for example, this light colour brown, I will probably just say, I don't know, maybe cream or something, because it's like a darkish cream, light brown. I'll probably say light brown. But you know, this colour is called vanilla with Paintbox. And then we've got a light pink, a darker pink, a light purple, dark purple, and a yellow. So for example, the yellow is daffodil, but I'll just say yellow. But you know, depending on if you're going to be using colours like that, or you might just use a few colours, that's okay, you can do that. But you are going to need two crochet hooks. I've got a 2.5 and then I've got a 3.5, so it's 2.25 and a 3.5. Scissors, tapestry needle, stitch markers, a row counter, and these pins for when we do embroidery for the eyes, nose and the mouth. You can use the safety eyes if you wish. If not, you can do embroidery. I have got the safety eyes just here on the, just to show you what they look like. The backs of those go on when you come to place them on. They just push on and then you can't take them off once they're on. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to be doing the eyes and the nose and the mouth. Well, the mouth is always done with embroidery, but I'm going to do the eyes and the nose as an embroidery rather than using the safety eyes. I have used the safety eyes and done her eyelashes with the embroidery, but I'm going to embroider the eyes and the nose just to show you how to do her little face if you don't have the safety eyes and the safety nose. So I just thought it'd be nice just to show you how to do the eyes, nose, mouth and the eyelashes. If you want to do the eyelashes, you could leave them off as well. This is your project, so you can do whichever you feel you want to do. So yeah, that is all really. On the written pattern, you might have noticed that I do everything in alphabetical order when it comes down to the colours. I'm just going to quickly run this over with you in case you do decide to go along with the written pattern. The colour codes that I've done for A, B, C, D, E and F, and G for the black, That is just simply so you know where to colour to do your colour change in. So I've done like a code box, so A being vanilla, B lighter pink, and I've also put on the side of there as well for the actual colours for paint box in case you are using paint box yarns as well. So I just tried to put as much information in there for you as possible. So yeah, now we can get started. Oh, also you are going to need a tapestry needle as well. So let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start by using the light brown colour, and we're going to be using a 3.5mm hook, and we're going to start with the arms first, and you need to do 2 of these. So to begin, you're going to start with your magic ring. So make your magic ring, and then you're going to chain 1. And then you're going to do 4 single crochets into this ring. So insert your hook in through the ring. That's 1, 2, 3, and then last one for 4. And then you're going to take your little tail and you're going to gently pull to close the ring. And we're just going to go straight into this first stitch, and we are going to make a slip stitch. So pull your yarn through and through again. So that is the first round, and now we're going to do an increase round. So it's 2 single crochets in each stitch around for a total of 8 stitches at the end of that round. So you're going to go into this next stitch right here, and you're going to do 2 single crochets. So that's 1 and 2 single crochets in the same stitch all the way around for a total of 8 stitches, and I will be back at the end of this round. Okay, so now you should have a total of 8 stitches at the end of that round. So now we need to get our stitches up to 12 single crochets in the round, and to do that we're going to do a 1 single crochet and then a 1 increase. So going straight into that next stitch, and you're just going to do a 1 single crochet, and then into the next stitch you're going to do your increase, and then it's a 1 single crochet and then an increase again, and you keep working like this until you have a total of 12 stitches. If needs be, you can use your stitch marker so you don't lose where you're up to. At the end of that round you will have 12 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have a total of 12 stitches in that round. We're now going to do just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 2 rows. So going into that first stitch, do your 1 single crochet, and then into the next 1 single crochet, and it's 1 single crochet for 2 rounds. And don't forget to put your stitch marker in so you don't forget where you're up to, and I'll meet you back at the end of the second round. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of my second round now of 12 stitches in a round, and here is my stitch marker. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker out, and I'm just going to go insert my hook into the next stitch. I'm not actually going to do the very last stitch in this colour. This is where we're going to change colour. So I'm going to drop the lighter brown colour, and I'm going to pick up the light pink. I'm going to place that over my hook, pull the yarn through and pull through, and just simply chain 1 to secure that colour on, and just pull the pink tail just to make sure that is on secure. And then we're going to do another 2 rounds of single crochet in each stitch around for 12 stitches. So going into that very first stitch here, going to go 1 all the way around, 2, 3, 4, and because the way it's curling in, it's cupping in, I just tend to push that out, so then that way you can then, it's a bit easier instead of trying to get your hook inside of there because it's a little bit tight to get your hook in there. So just gently pop that through, but before you do, just cut this the light brown tail, and you can just leave that inside and use that as part of stuffing. So just keep going around one single crochet and do a second round of one single crochet for a total of 12 stitches, and then I'll be back. Okay, so now you should have your 2 rounds of your pink colour of one single crochet for 12 stitches. For this next round we're now going to be working on the front loop only. So going through that front first stitch that you can see there, if I just try and show you, you're just working on this front loop only here, and you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch round. That will give you a total of 24 stitches at the end of this round. So it's in each stitch of an increase using the front loop only all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round for a total of 24 stitches. So now you should have a total of 24 stitches on the front loop only, which has made this kind of a frill effect. So now we're going to be working on the back loops only, and we're going to do a decrease round back down to 12 stitches. So taking your hook again, you're going to go into the very first stitch, and you're going to start with doing a decrease. So by doing a decrease using the back loop stitch only, so you're going to go right into that very back stitch, pull your yarn through into the next stitch, pull your yarn through, 3 loops on your hook, pull through all 3 loops. That's your first decrease, and you're going to keep doing a decrease all the way around until you have a total of 12 stitches at the end of this round, and I will meet you back. Okay, so now you should have a total of 12 stitches at the end of that round. We're now going to work in the back loop again, and we're just going to do a 1 single crochet for each stitch of 12 stitches. So going into your first stitch using the back loop only, you're going to go 1, using the back loop, 2, and keep doing 1 single crochet all the way around for 12 stitches, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so now you should have 12 stitches at the end of that round. So now we're just going to do a normal regular 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 12 stitches. So we're just going to go into that very first stitch and going through both of your loops and do a 1 single crochet, and then it's a 1 single crochet each stitch around for 12 stitches, and then all you are going to do then is fasten off, well, stuff in and then fasten off, but I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so this is the first arm complete. You're just going to use some toy stuffing. If you don't have any toy stuffing, you can just use scrap yarns, or maybe use an old pillow you're not using no more, just to get a bit of stuffing out of there. Just, you know, enough stuffing so it's stuffed to how you want it to be. If you notice that on the centre of the ring is not quite closed, it's because at the beginning when you've done that you didn't, I forgot to mention to pull to close the ring. But you can just before you put your stuffing in, you can pull the light brown yarn and give it a little tug, and that will close the centre of the ring. So a bit of stuffing, and then you want to fasten this off. So to fasten off, let's get my hook. All you want to do is go into this next stitch, and you're going to make a simple slip stitch and chain 1. And when you cut your yarn, you want some length so you've got enough for sewing. So I'm just going to cut some length of that off, and then just simply pull and pull that tight, and that is now fastened off and secure, and you just need to repeat that again for your second arm. Okay, so for this round we're now going to start with the legs. I'm going to be using the lighter pink colour, and my pattern says B. So to begin with this, we're going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. We're also going to be switching in a little bit as well to a 2.25mm crochet hook as well. So we're going to start with a magic ring. So make your magic ring with your 3.5mm crochet hook, and then we're just going to chain 1. So now we are going to do 6 single crochets into the magic ring. So insert your hook into the ring and do 6 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And you're going to take your tail and you're just going to gently pull to close your round. And then you're going to insert your hook into the first stitch and make a slip stitch to join that round together, and just make sure you pull the centre till it's closed. So now on the next round, we're now going to do an increased round of 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and that will give us a total of 12 stitches. So going into your very first stitch, you're going to do 2 single crochets. So that's 1 and then 2. And it's 2 single crochets in each stitch around for a total of 12 stitches. Okay, so once you've got your 12 stitches in that round, we're now going to be doing a 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 4 rounds. So going into that very first stitch right here, and that's 1 single crochet, and then it's 1 single crochet in each stitch around for a total of 4 rounds. And so I'll meet you back at the end of round 4. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of that last round of 4 rows. We're now just going to insert my hook into the very last stitch, which is stitch 12. So I'm just going to insert my hook and I'm going to drop the pink colour, and I'm going to switch back to the lighter brown colour, which is A on the pattern, but I'll just go with the natural light brown colour. We're just going to do a slip stitch to join that colour on, and just make a little chain 1 to ensure that's on quite secure. Just pull your pink. So now for this round, we now do a back loop stitch of 1 single crochet in each stitch around, which will still have 12 stitches at the end of this round. So you're going to do the back loop only and do a 1 single crochet. So it's 1 single crochet, back loop only, all the way around for 12 stitches, and I will be back. Okay, so now we can just simply cut this pink yarn so it's out of our way, and I'm just going to hide that tail end inside. So now it's just going to be a normal 1 single crochet all the way around. Now you've done your back loop stitches, so we're just going to go into that very first stitch and we're going to do a 1 single crochet, and it's 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 5 rounds, and I will be back at the end of round 5. Okay, so once you've finished that round and you've got your 5 rows of 12 single crochets in a round, we're now just going to go into the next stitch and do a slip stitch. So go into that very next stitch and do a little slip stitch, and then do a chain 1, and then you're just going to leave a tail for sewing for later. And we're just going to pop that yarn to one side, and we're just going to pull that tail through, and we're just going to leave that there for sewing. So now we're going to go back to using the light pink colour again, and we are going to change hook sizes now, and we're going to go to a 2.25mm crochet hook, and you're going to take the back of the leg. If you look closely, you can see it doesn't quite join in there. Don't worry too much about that. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that very first stitch from the back. Just to insert your hook, and then just attach on your pink yarn. So simply put your yarn over the hook, pull that through, and then you're just going to chain 1, and that will then secure that on there nicely for you. So now we're going to do 3 single crochets into that same stitch. So we're just going to go straight in there again and do 3 single crochet. So that's 1, 2, and then 1 more for 3. So once you've done that, into the next stitch you're going to do a slip stitch. So insert your hook. As you can see, the where we've done the back loops, this is where we're left with these ridged stitches going around. So they're the stitches that you're going to be working through. So make sure you go through those and do your slip stitch. Because this is a round yarn, it is a little bit tricky because this is quite a small hook. So you just need to be quite persistent to get it through. And then you're going to go to the next stitch again, and you're going to do another 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and then 3. And you're just going to keep repeating this all the way around. And the next stitch is a slip stitch, and then the next stitch is 3 single crochets again. So just keep repeating and working like this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so once you've managed to finish that round by doing your 3 single crochets in the same stitch and then doing a slip stitch, you're then just going to come to the very last end here, and going into that very first stitch where we started is where we're going to do our very last slip stitch, and we're just going to do that to fasten off. So I'm just going to fasten off and chain 1, and then I'm just going to take a cut of a bit of a yarn, and I'm just going to weave that end in. So you just want to get your tapestry needle and just simply weave these ends in, this end here and that end there, because we won't be needing those now. And next is to just simply stuff this leg and then do it all over again for your second leg, making sure you leave a tail for sewing your attaching the legs to the bear towards the end. So that is the leg done, and those little pretty bits are supposed to be a top part of her sock, or you know, the bottom of her feet, so we can recognise the bottom of her feet. I thought it was nice to match up with her little outfit. So moving on to the next part now. Okay, so now we are going to be working on the hat, and we're going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook and the light pink yarn. So to begin for the hat, we're going to start with a magic ring. So make your magic ring, and you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do 8 single crochets into this ring. So go into your ring and do 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and last one for 8. You're going to take this tail and close to join the ring around together. So now we're just going to do a slip stitch into this very first stitch, and then we're just going to pull that centre to make sure that's secure and closed. So on to the next round. We're now going to get this up to 16 stitches, so we're going to do an increase round of 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So going into the next stitch, you're going to do 2 single crochets, and it's 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around for a total of 16 stitches, and I'll be back at the end of that round. Okay, so before moving on to the next round, just double check that you do actually have 16 stitches at the end of that round. If you need to use a stitch marker, by all means you can do that. So for this next round, it's just going to consist of one single crochet in each stitch around for one round for 16 stitches. So going into that very first stitch and do a one single crochet, and it's just simply one single crochet in each stitch around for 16 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. So at the end of that round you'll still have 16 stitches. We're now going to work this up to 24 stitches. So to do that, we're going to do a one single crochet into the next stitch, and then we're going to do an increase into that very next stitch, so two single crochets in the same stitch. And I'm just going to pop my stitch marker into that very first stitch that we did, so I'm just going to pop it back into there. So we've done a one single crochet and then we've done an increase, and it's one single crochet again and then another increase, and you just keep working like this all the way around for a total of 24 stitches. Okay, so at the end of that round you should have 24 stitches. It's always a good idea just to go back and just simply count to make sure you do have 24 stitches before moving on. So on to the next round, it's just going to be a one single crochet in each stitch around for 24 stitches. So going into that very first stitch. So if you can't see your very first stitch, I tend to just fold mine that way, and then I can just simply see straight away where my first stitch is going to be. That's one, and it's just one single crochet in each stitch for 24 stitches all the way around. Okay, so after that round we're now going to get this up to 32 stitches, and to do that we're going to do one single crochet in the next two stitches and then an increase. So going into that very first stitch, that's one single crochet, and then you're going to do another one single crochet and then two single crochets into that very same stitch, so one and two, and then it's one single crochet, one increase, and you're going to keep working like that all the way around until you have a total of 32 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so now you should have a total of 32 stitches. We're now just going to do one single crochet in each stitch around for 32 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have a total of 32 stitches, and now we're going to get this up to 40 stitches. So to do that, we're now going to do a one single crochet into the next three stitches. So it's going to go one single, one single, one single, and then an increase. So it's one single crochet in the next three stitches and then do an increase, and I will meet you back at the end of that round and you will have a total of 40 stitches. So going straight into that first stitch for a one single crochet, and then into the next one single, and then into the next one single, and then do your increase of two single crochets into that same stitch, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round and you should have 40 stitches. Okay, so now you should have a total of 40 stitches at the end of that round. So for this next round we're now going to be working on the front loop only. So you're going to go into that very next stitch and you're going to do a front loop. So insert your hook into that front loop and do one single crochet, and it's one single crochet in each stitch around, doing front loop only for 40 stitches. So one single crochet, front loop only for 40 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so once you've got your 40 stitches on your front loop only stitch all the way around of your single crochets, we're now going to move on to the next round. So for this next round we're going to yarn over. You're going to go into this first stitch here using the front loop only again. You're going to do 4 half double crochets. So you simply, I'll just do that again for you. So yarn over into the next stitch, insert your hook, pull your yarn through, remembering it's only front loop only. You've then got 3 loops on your hook and you're going to pull through all 3. So that's 1 half double crochet. Yarn over into the same stitch, pull through 3 loops, that's 2. Yarn over, insert again, pull through, that's 3, and then the last one for 4. So that's 4 half double crochets in that front loop stitch only, and then you're going to skip the next stitch, and then into the very next stitch you're going to do a slip stitch in the front loop only, and then pull that through. So there's your first slip stitch, and then you're going to yarn over into the next stitch and you're going to do front loop only again for another 4 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then the last one for 4, remembering that it's only front loop only. You're going to skip the next, and then into that next one is a front loop only slip stitch, and then yarn over into the next stitch and you're going to do another 4 half double crochets, front loop only, 1, 2, 3, and then last one for 4, and then you're going to skip into the next stitch, front loop only, going to do a slip stitch, yarn over into the next for another 4 half double crochets, and you're just going to keep working like this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. So that's 3, last one for 4, and then skip, front loop, slip stitch, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so once you are nearly all the way around and you're nearly finished, like I am here, you're then going to skip again and do your slip stitch as you normally would, and then into this very next stitch is where we're going to fasten this off. So we're just going to simply insert the hook, pull your yarn through and pull through again, and then you're just going to fasten that off, and then we will move on to the next part. Okay, so that is now your hat done. You just want to fasten off and tie your ends in, just so your ends in just here, just on the inner side, and then you can just put that to one side and we'll come back to that in a little bit. So now we're going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook, and we're going to be using the lighter brown colour or neutral colour, and we're going to start, this is for the head, so we're going to start with a magic ring. So make your magic ring, and then you're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 8 single crochets into this ring. So that's 8 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, and then you're going to take this little tail just here and you're just going to gently pull to close your ring, and then we're going to join the round with a slip stitch, and then your round is now joined, and just gently close that centre. So now we're going to do an increased round, and we're going to get these now up to 16 stitches. So for the increased round, it's 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so going into that very first stitch and do 2 single crochets, and then it's 2 single crochets for each stitch all the way around, making sure you've got 16 stitches. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have a total of 16 stitches. So now we're going to do a 1 single crochet in each stitch around for another 16 stitches. So going into that very first stitch, and that's going to be a 1 single crochet. So that's 1, into the next 2, and keep going round, 1 single crochet in each stitch for 16 stitches. Okay, so once you have got your 16 stitches all the way round from your 1 single crochet round, we're now going to get this up to 24 stitches, and we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase, and you're going to repeat that all the way around. So it's 1 single crochet, 1 increase, so going into that very first stitch, and that's going to be a 1 single crochet, and then going to do your increase with 2 single crochets in the same stitch. At the end of that round you will have 24 stitches. Okay, so at the end of that round you will have 24 stitches, and now we're just going to do a 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, and you will have 24 stitches at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should have 24 single crochets all the way around, 24 stitches all the way around of single crochets. We're now going to do a 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase. So we're going to go into this very next stitch of 1 single crochet, and then into the next stitch of 1 single crochet, and then you're going to do your increase, and that will give you a total of 32 stitches at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have 32 stitches all the way around. We're now just going to do a 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so now you should have 1 single crochet all the way around of 32 stitches. We're now going to get this up to 40 stitches, so to do that we're going to go into this very first stitch, and we're going to do 1 single crochet, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, so that's 3 single crochets, and then you're going to do your increase of 2 single crochets into that same stitch. So it's 1, 2, 3, increase all the way around for 40 stitches. Okay, so make sure you are counting your stitches at the end of every round, and before you start a round making sure you're using your stitch markers if you are needing them. It's always a good idea to use them anyway, just so you don't lose track where you're up to. So for this next round we're going to just do a 1 single crochet all the way around for 40 single crochets all the way around, 40 stitches. So just go into that very first stitch and do your 1 single crochet, and it's just 1 single crochet all the way around, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so once you've got 40 single crochets going around, we now want to attach this to the hat, and I'm just going to show you how I attached it to the hat. So to begin we're going to be attaching it using, if you look on the inside of your hat, you've got these inside ridges, you've got the outer side and then you've got an inner side. We are going to attach the head to this inner side here, just here. And the way to do that is make sure your tail end on the inside of the hat is quite rather short. You can just leave that loosely inside, and then when you put the top of the head on, just make sure again your tail is not all the way short, but you know, not too long, and you're going to just sit that into there like so, and we're going to single crochet this together. So the way I do this is, once you've finished on that last stitch, you're just going to insert your hook back into that same stitch for a moment, drop the yarn, and anywhere is fine, just make sure you go through this inside ridge like that. I call it like a ridge stitch because it's you know, looks quite rigid. So then I'm going to take my yarn and I'm just going to simply pull that through both of those loops and do a 1 single crochet. So that's now 1, and it's 1 single crochet all the way around 40 stitches. So to do that you need to turn, and we're going to be working from the outer side. So now we're going to go onto the next stitch, and make sure you just fold it back slightly, and then this second part of the ridges will just poke out a little bit for you to see. Just don't be mistaken for this first lot, it's the inner side ones, and make sure that your tail ends are on the inside of each other. So going into this next stitch, you want to insert your hook into the next stitch, and then you're going to insert into the next stitch on the lighter brown colour, and pull through and do a single crochet. So that's 2, and then you're just going to keep going like this, making sure you go through every single crochet of both ones, like so, and that will be for 40 stitches all the way around. So you're just going to keep working like that all the way around, making sure you don't miss a stitch. So like I say, just pull this back here, and you're working on the inner ridge stitches. As you can see here now, this is where it looks a bit funny, because when we've worked in the round, we've got a little bit here where it doesn't quite meet, but don't worry about that. As long as you are on the inner side, if you just pull that down slightly again, you can actually just about work out where the next stitch actually is, and that will just fit perfectly like so. So just keep working like this all the way around, 1 single crochet, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so once you are happy and you've got your 40 stitches all the way around, you now just want to just push it into place, so it's kind of sitting in there quite nicely, and you can just try and mold it kind of thing. So now you're going to just join that round together with a little slip stitch at that very beginning round just here. So we're just going to do a little slip stitch just there. So moving on to the next round now, we're now going to do back loop only of 1 single crochet all the way around for a total of 40 stitches. So going into that first stitch, you're going to do a 1 single crochet back loop only, so using the back loop all the way around for 40 single crochets, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have 40 single crochets going in around. Just keep pushing on this down to flatten it down a little bit. Come to think about it, I think I actually done this bit here, the frilly part, I think I actually did that in a smaller hook, and I actually forgot to put that down on my written instructions. But it should be fine. If you wanted to do an extra layer here on top, you could always do that if you really wanted to. Mine does keep springing up a little bit, but just keep pushing on it down, and it should work out okay anyway. But it's just if you wanted yours to be a little bit longer, but the idea of it in the first place was that it was very short. Not sure if you can see this, very short anyway, but looking at that to here, I have just noticed that I have obviously used a smaller hook on this part here, and I haven't wrote that down, my mistake. But it's okay, I'm sure it'll still work out rather fine. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out to you a little bit there. So moving on to this next round now, we're now going to do a 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, and then we're going to do an increase. So this is going to take us up to 48 stitches at the end of this round. So this time round on this round, there's no back loop or front loop. We're just simply going to go straight in to that very first stitch of 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then we're going to do an increase. and that will give you a total of 48 stitches all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so once you are happy and you've got 48 stitches at the end of that round, we're now just going to do a 1 single crochet all the way around for 48 stitches. Okay, so now you should have a 1 single crochet, 48 stitches all the way around. We're now just going to do our last round of our increasing, and we're going to get this up to 56 stitches all the way around, and to do that we're going to do a 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches. So going into your very first one, so that's 1, and then into the next, that's 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then you're going to do your increase of 2 single crochets into that same stitch, and you're going to keep working like that all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. 1 single crochet in the next 5 stitches will give you a total of 56 stitches at the end of that round. Okay, so once you are happy and you've got 56 stitches all the way around, we're now going to do a 1 single crochet for the next 8 rounds, and we're going to do that for 56 stitches. There's no increasing, no decreasing, it's just simply 1 single crochet in each stitch for 8 rounds. So your first round would be as soon as you go straight in to here and do 1 single crochet, that is going to be round 1, and you want to make sure you do use a stitch marker as you go. This is where I like to keep hold of a row counter so I can just mark as I go. If you don't have one of these, a pen and paper would do the job just fine. I'll meet you back at the end of your 8th round, 56 stitches all the way around, and then I will be back. Okay, so once you have finished doing your 8 rounds of single crochet of 56 stitches, we're now going to start on doing the rounds of decreasing. So to do the decrease round, we want to get this down to 48 stitches, and to do that we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then we'll do a decrease. So going into that very first stitch, that's 1, into the next 2, into the next 3, into the next for 4, and then the last one for 5, and then we'll do our decrease. So a decrease, you insert your hook, pull the yarn through, 2 loops on the hook, into the next stitch, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3 loops, and that is a 1 decrease. And then you're going to repeat that all the way around, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets, then do your decrease, and you keep working like that all the way around until you've got 48 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round of your decrease round, you should now have a total of 48 stitches in a round. So for the next round, we're now just going to do a 1 single crochet in each stitch for a total of 48 stitches again. So just going straight into that next stitch of 1 single crochet, and keep doing 1 single crochet for 48 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so now you should have 1 single crochets all the way around for 48 stitches. So now we're going to get this down again to 40 stitches. So the way we're going to do that, now we're going to do a 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. So going into that very first stitch, so that's 1, and then into the next for 2, into the next for 3, and then into the next for 4, and then you're going to do your decrease. So insert your hook, pull your yarn through, 2 loops on the hook, into the next stitch, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3 loops. So that is now another decrease, and then you're just going to repeat that all the way around. So 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets, and then do a decrease. And you're going to keep working like that till you get back to here, and you might want to remember to put your stitch marker in as well. And I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that decrease round, you should now have a total of 40 stitches. So we're now just going to do another round of decrease now. So we're going to do one single crochet into the next 3 stitches, so going into that very first stitch, so 1, 2 and then 3, and then you're going to do your decrease like so, and you're just going to keep repeating that all the way around, doing 1, 2, 3 decrease, and you're going to keep working like that until you've got 32 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have a total of 32 stitches. We're now going to get this down to 24 stitches by doing a 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to do a decrease. So just simply going into the next stitch, and we're going to go 1 and then into the next 2, and then you're going to work your decrease. And you're going to keep working like that all the way around until you've got a total of 24 stitches. Okay, so at the end of that round you should now have a total of 24 stitches. So I'm just going to stop here a moment in case you are using safety eyes and safety nose. So this is where you would now place them in ready. So to do that, what I've done is this is where we've last ended. Here is the last stitch. You may have a stitch marker there already. If you do have a stitch marker there already, this is where you will need another stitch marker in a different colour, preferably to the one you're using. So you're just going to move that out the way, and I'm going to count 12 stitches going clockwise direction. So this is going from here round as we normally would work. So we're going to count 12 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to move my hook. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So I'm just going to place that stitch marker just onto the 12th stitch, and I am just going to pull that through so I don't lose my stitch where I was working. So now that is the 12th stitch, so this is the front side. I'll just show you, this here is now indicating to you that this is now the front of the face, and that is the back. So that's why I've counted stitches and put a stitch marker just here. So now we are going to, I'm going to use these just to show you where you're going to place your safety eyes and safety nose. So what we are going to do now, we are going to place a marker on the 7th row. So this is for the nose. So we're going to count from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is where the nose is going to be. So counting from here, and if you can, gauge it as straight as you can, and that is where the nose goes on the 7th row. And then we are going to count 6 rows above the nose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 rows above the nose, and then we're going to count 5 rows to the right. So that's stitches across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to get another pin, one pin too short, and then we're going to count 5 again from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to move that centre pin because we don't need that now. So that is the where your nose is going to go and where your eyes are going to go. If you are embroidered, sorry, I don't know if you can see that actually. So that's where your eyes are going to go, and that's where your nose is going to go. If you are embroidering on, we'll do that at the very end, not now. This is for safety eyes and safety nose only. So basically you should have 10 stitches apart for your eyes and then your nose. So for your nose it is 7 rows up and then 6 rows up for the eyes, and then they are 5 either side, and take the centre one out, and that will be where you place them. So I just thought I'd show you that in case you needed that for your safety eyes and safety nose. Okay, so now we're just going to do a 1 single crochet all the way around of 1 single crochet for 24 stitches. When we get to the very last stitch of stitch 24, you don't want to completely finish that off. We're going to change that with a change of a colour. So I'll meet you back towards the end of that round to show you how to change your colour. So just going into that next stitch of 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm just coming to the end of that round of 24 single crochets. This is my very last stitch just here. I've just simply inserted my hook into that, ready to change colour. We're going to go with the lighter pink, so just simply place that over your hook and pull through, and then pull through and do a little chain 1, just like so, to secure your new colour on to there. So now I'm just going to pause this video. I'm going to stuff the head, ready to move on for the actual next round. When you do your stuff in here, I wouldn't recommend to stuff all the way to the very top, because it might get caught as we're working in here now. So I would recommend to just leave it to maybe about somewhere around about here, so you don't keep getting it caught and trapped in your stitches. So I'll be back in a moment once I've stuffed this part. Okay, so once you're happy with your head stuffed, now I'm just going to cut this light brown colour off, because we don't need that no more. So I'm just going to cut that. Just move that out the way. So now we're going to be working with this light pink colour, and it's going to be a front loop only, and we now need to build this back up to 48, because we're actually working on the body part now. I'm just going to make sure that's on secure. So we're going to start by going into this first stitch here, and you're going to do the back loop only, and we're going to do the back loop only in half double crochet. So you're going to wrap your yarn around your hook like so, not all the way around, just once, just like so. Insert into the back loop only, pull the yarn through. You've now got 3 loops on your hook, and you're going to pull through all 3 loops. So that's 1 half double crochet, yarn over again into that same stitch, and you're going to do 2. So that's 2 half double crochets, and we're going to do that all the way around for a total of 48 stitches. So it's 2 front loop, and I've gone and done back loop, I mean front loop. I'm just going to redo that again, not back loop, front loop, yarn over into the front loop and do 1 half double crochet, yarn over, front loop for 1 half double crochet. So it's 2 half double crochets in each front loop stitch all the way around, and I will meet you back at the end of this round when you will have 48 stitches. Okay, so now you should have a total of 48 stitches all the way around. What I do here, I just like to pull the two of the colours where we joined the colour on earlier, just so it hides it nicely just there. And now I'm just going to slip stitch right into here, and I'm not going to do any chain and ones or anything like that, just literally slip stitch just to join that brown together. So now I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and we're going to do that for a total of 8 rounds. So once again, if you have got a row counter, it's a good idea to use that. If not, then by all means use pen and paper, just so you know where you're up to, and remember to use your stitch markers. So I will be back at the end of the 8th round for 48 stitches all the way around for 8 rounds, and then I'll be back. And just before I go to do those 8 rounds and leave you to do your 8 rounds, 48 stitches all round, I just want to make sure that you are aware that we're not doing no back loop or front loop this time round. It's just a general standard 1 single crochet. So just going into each stitch and doing 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 8 rounds. Okay, so now you should have a total of 8 rounds of single crochet going around, so you should be looking like this now. So now we're moving on to the next round. We're still going to be using the same size hook, which is a 3.5, and we're now going to be doing a 1 single crochet in each stitch for 1 round using the back loop only. So going into the very first stitch, which is just here, using the back loop of 1 single crochet, and I will meet you back at the end of this round of back loop single crochet for 48 stitches. Okay, so now you should have your 48 single crochets of the back loop only going in around. So now we're going to work on doing a decrease round, and this is to get it down to 40. So to begin, we're going to start by inserting your hook into that very first stitch, and you're just going to do a normal regular 1 single crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then you're going to do a decrease. So insert your hook, pull your yarn through, 2 loops on your hook, into the next stitch, pull through, 3 loops on the hook and pull through all 3 loops, and that is your decrease. So it's 4 single crochets again, and then do your decrease, 4 single crochets again and decrease, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round and you will have 40 stitches at the end of that round. Okay, so now you should have your total of 40 stitches all the way around of single crochet. We're now going to do another round of decreasing. We're going to do the same as before, but this time we're going to do a 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then we're going to do a decrease. And always remember to use your stitch marker so you always know where your round begins and ends. So we're going to do the same as before, except for this time it's in the next 3 stitches. So going into that very first stitch, so that's 1, and then into the next, that's 2, and then into that next one for 3, and then you're going to do your decrease. And as you do your decrease, I'll just do that again for you. So you're just going to insert your hook, pull your yarn through, into the next stitch, pull your yarn through, 3 loops on your hook and pull through, and that will give you a total of 32 stitches at the end of that round. Okay, so now you should have a total of 32 stitches at the end of that decrease round. We're now going to do another round of decreasing, and we're going to do the same as before, except for this time we're going to do a 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So going into the next stitch, that's 1 single crochet, into the next stitch for 1 single crochet, that's 2, and then do your decrease. And you're going to keep working like this all the way around for a total of 24 stitches, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so at the end of that round you will now have 24 stitches in that round. Now you want to start stuffing the body. Yours should start looking a little bit like this, and you don't want to put far too much stuffing in there, but you want to put enough in there. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I might put a little bit more in just before we close this round off completely. So for this next round, we're now going to, once you've done your stuffing and you're ready, you can just pause it here if you need to. But for this next round, we're just going to do a 1 single crochet and a decrease all the way around, and that will take us down to 16 stitches. So you're just going to go into the next stitch and do a 1 single crochet, and then you're going to work your decrease into the next stitch, and you're going to keep working like that all the way around. And then once you've got that all the way around, if you need to put a little bit more stuffing in, you can quite easily do that. For my stuffing, I've just used ordinary just toy stuffing. You can use anything. If you don't have any specific toy stuffing, you can just use something out of an old pillowcase, well, an old pillow you're not using no more, or a cushion you're not using no more, or scraps of yarn. Anything like that really will work for your work, or cut up old clothing you're not wearing no more. So yeah, I will be back at the end of this round, and then I will show you how to close the end of the round off. So now you should have a total of 16 stitches going in the round. If you feel you need to put a little bit more stuffing in there, you can do that. So for this next round, we're just going to be doing a decrease round, and this is going to take us down to 8 stitches at the end of this round. So we're just going to go and do a decrease straight away. So that's one decrease, and this is going to take it down to 16 stitches. So keep working your decreases going in around. So that's 2. I can just put my stitch marker in there if you really wanted to. I'm just going to place my stitch marker there, and we're just going to do decreases. Be sure not to catch the toy stuffing as you're going around. I know it's quite tricky to not catch it in there, so just gently lift it up as you're working around. It can be a little bit fiddly, so just keep going around doing your decreasing. And at the end, once you've done your decreasing on this round, you can then go around again if you wish to do another round of a decrease. So I'm just going to move this out of the way so I can get into that next stitch for that next decrease. And that's what I will do now. I'm just going to do another round for the last round of a decrease. And it does get a little bit difficult towards the end here, because you don't want to get the toy stuffing in the way, and the stitches are a lot closer together. You know, there's quite a lot here to manage as you're going around. So I tend to just gently, when it gets to this stage, I like to just push that together slightly, so then I can get through the stitches a lot easier, like so, and just into that last one just there. So now that is pretty much now closed up, I'm just going to insert my hook into this next stitch here, and I'm just going to pull that through and simply do a little slip stitch and chain 1. And I'm just going to cut a little bit of length of this yarn, just a little bit, and then I'm just going to pull that up, pull that tight, and then I'm going to take my tapestry needle and attach that on, and I'm just going to sew this up as well, just so the toy stuffing doesn't start poking through the stitches. And to do that, I just like to weave in and out of each stitch, because they are quite wide from where we've gone around, and then that will close that in nicely. And you can just go in any direction you wish, but I wouldn't recommend sort of taking all the way over to here sort of thing, so then your yarn's like all over the place. You just want to try and keep it neat if you can, and just give it a little tug as well, and that will just close it just nicely. So we're nearly there now. I'm just closing this up. I mean, everyone is different, so you know, you don't have to do this. This is just something that I like to do. And once you are happy with that, and that feels quite secure, I'm just going to finish it off here. Just going to go inside there, and I'm going to go in there twice, and I'm just going to take that back through, and I'm going to go straight inside, and I'm just going to pull that push that through, and then I'm just simply going to cut, and if you've got any yarn there, just poke it back through inside, and then you can just, you know, squish that around a little bit to get it into shape, and that is now closed, and now we're ready to move on to the next round. Okay, so now we're going to be starting on the skirt, and we're going to start the skirt from the back, and you might be thinking, well, I haven't done the face yet and I don't know where the back is, so I'm just going to show you where the back is. So when you turn, you're just going to look at between the head and the body, and when you turn it and you just have a little look, and you will just see, just somewhere around about here, when you look, you will see that the colour is quite off a little bit from where we've done the joining on around from the previous rows, and it's happened again here, and that's because that is the back. So to start from the back here, and because if you look closely you can see that stitch there is higher than that stitch, so when we come round to starting on the skirt, I like to just simply get my hook, and I'm just going to show you where I mean, into this stitch here. So that's where I like to start. Now you can start here if you wanted to, and then when you come round to here you can just put an extra stitch in at the end, just here. Well, I'm just going to start mine with this stitch right here, and because that stitch is there, so we just want to try and make sure we get that in the right place for you, and that's where we're going to start the skirt. So I'm going to insert my hook just into there, and just be sure not to get your fibre coming out, you know, from your stuffing. So now we're just going to attach on the pink colour again for the skirt. So to do that, you just want to rest your yarn over your hook. I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and I'm just going to gently pull that through, and then I'm going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and then 3, and just gently pull that a little, yarn over. Now when I like to do this, I like to go back into that same stitch we just was, but this time when I go in, I'm just going to keep that tail end over, so I kind of like crochet that in and do a one double crochet in the same chain space as where I've done the chain 3. Now for the next part of these tail ends, you can just ignore that if you want and don't bother trying to crochet that in, or you can crochet that in, that is entirely up to you. But for this part of the round for the skirt, we are just now going to work on a 1 single crochet in each stitch around. But when you look, you will just see that we are slightly just under, but that's okay, and it's just going to be a 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and you can quite clearly see where your stitches are because we're going through the rigid stitches that we did earlier when we did the back loop, and that was the idea of me doing the back loop only, so then you have got this as a guide to do your double crochets all the way around for the skirt. So just keep doing 1 single crochet, so it's a chain 3, attach your hook, remembering that there's that little gap piece, and like I say, I like to go just in between there just to start that off, and chain 3. You can crochet your tail end in if you wish, and then it's a 1 single crochet in where your chain 3 is, and then a double crochet, then it's a 1 double crochet all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of that round. Okay, so now we're just coming to the end of the skirt where it's just about to join together. I'm just going to put the last 2 double crochets in here. So as you can see, when we started this, the round for that was slightly off from when we've been working in rounds, and because we did the first double crochet with the chain 3 as slightly higher than where it was to make it join, this will finish it off quite nicely. So I'm just going to put that last double crochet into that stitch, like so. And now I'm just going to simply slip stitch to join this round together, and then you're going to chain 3 again, and then we're going to do another double crochet into that same stitch. So on this next stitch we're going to do 2 double crochets, and then on the next stitch is just going to be a 1 double crochet, and then you're going to do an increase for 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet in the next stitch. So you're just going to keep repeating this all the way around. So it's, and if you do get stuck and you think I'm not sure if I did a 1 or a 2, if you just pull it apart you will actually see the 2 stitches make like a V in that same stitch, and the other one will just be a single on its own. So it's just 2 double crochets into the next stitch. That keeps getting caught. 1 and then 2 and then 1 into the next stitch, and then I'll meet you back at the end of this round. So it's 2 double crochets, then 1 2 1 2 1 all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end. Okay, so once you get to the end on that round, we're now just going to do a slip stitch into that very first stitch. So make your slip stitch, and now we're going to chain 2. So for this round I'm just going to turn my fairy, and I'm going to turn it so her head is facing towards myself, because now we're just going to do the edging of the frill edging of her skirt. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do once I've chained 2, I'm going to skip that first stitch and I'm going to go straight into the next stitch. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to do 3 half double crochets into that same stitch. So yarn over, skip 1 stitch, pull your yarn through, pull through all 3 loops, yarn over, insert, pull through all 3 loops. So that's 2 and 1 more, and that's 3 half double crochets into that same stitch. In the next stitch I'm going to do a slip stitch, and into the next stitch I'm going to do another slip stitch, yarn over into the next stitch and do another 3 half double crochets, and you're just going to keep repeating this all the way around for the whole of the skirt. So into the next stitch you're going to do a slip stitch, in the next stitch you're going to do another slip stitch, yarn over and do another 3 half double crochets, 2 and last one for 3, and then slip stitch, 3 half double crochets. So 1 slip stitch into the next stitch, another slip stitch, yarn over into the next stitch and do another 3 half double crochets. So keep working like this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm just coming up to the end on this round now of the frill of the skirt. So I'm just going to do the last 2 slip stitches, and now I'm back to the beginning again. So into this very last first stitch that we did, I'm just going to make a last slip stitch, so pull that through and chain 1, and then you're just going to cut your yarn, and then you're just going to pull that through, and that is just going to be sewn in at the end. That's quite a length, you wouldn't need that amount of length. And then we're just going to sew these ends in here if you have them ends lying around, and then once you have done that, that is the skirt finished. So now we're going to move on to the next part, which is the wings. So to do your wings, I have got a selection of colours, of rainbow colours. I've got the lighter purple, a dark purple, a darker pink and a yellow. You don't have to use those colours if you don't want to. This is just because my fairy is in rainbow colours, but you don't have to keep it to rainbow colours. So to do the main wing, I'll do this once for the one main wing and then once for the lower wing. You can do 2 of these main wings and then 2 of the lower wings as well. So to do the main wing, we're going to start by doing a chain of 8, and I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. So make a slip knot and do a chain of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whoopsie, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just wanted to make sure because I made a little mistake there. The hook got caught. So we're going to go into the second chain from the hook, and we're going to do that with a half double crochet. So yarn over, going into the second chain from your hook. So 1, 2. You're going to do a half double crochet into that chain. Yarn over, going into the next stitch to do another half double crochet. Yarn over, and then next last 4 stitches is a double crochet for each stitch. So 1 into the next for 2, into the next for 3, and then into that last one for 4. So you've now got 4 double crochets and 2 half double crochets. So for the next step, we're now going to do a slip stitch into that same stitch of the last double crochet. And when we do that slip stitch, we're going to actually stop here and we're going to change our colour. So my next colour is going to be the dark purple. I'm just going to grab my next colour. I'm going to attach on my new colour, so just simply place your yarn over your hook and pull through both of those loops, and now we're going to make a chain of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And I'm just going to make sure that is on nice and secure. I'm just going to push that end in just to make sure it is nice and secure, and then I'm going to turn, and we're going to do a slip stitch into the 8th chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, which is at the top here. So before you do that, you just want to make sure you do go into the stitch. You don't want to go right through like that. You want to make sure you go through the actual stitch. I'm going to make a slip stitch. This is get caught again. There we go. So I'm just going to do that again one more time. So through the stitch and do your slip stitch without getting your hook caught. My hook keeps getting caught. There we go. And then I had it and then it slipped off. Typical. Okay, so there's our slip stitch. That took some time to do that slip stitch, but we got there in the end. So now we're going to do another chain of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. And then we're going to do another slip stitch on the 8th chain again, which is in the same, should be in the same stitch. So we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 into that chain. But we're not going to finish this slip stitch with this yarn. I'm just going to hold that there and pull that taut so it's in the right place. And now I'm going to switch colours and we're going to go with the yellow next. Like I say, whatever colour you're using, if you are changing your colours. If you're not changing colours, you just do a slip stitch as you normally would. So I'm just going to place my yellow over and I'm going to finish that slip stitch off with the yellow. And now I'm going to do a chain of 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And I'm just going to keep pulling on these to make sure that they are secure, and you can just keep doing that as you're working. So I'm just going to turn this round now and we are going to do a slip stitch into the 10th chain from the row below. So we're going to count 10 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is at the top again. Your stitches you will always do your slip stitches in around the top chains, but you want to make sure you do just count, just to make sure you're going in the right place. So we are just going to do a normal slip stitch because we're not going to change colour just yet. So now we're going to chain another 12 again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and then 12. I'm going to turn and we're going to do another slip stitch into the 10th chain, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, which is always going to be in the same place, but I always just count anyway. And once you are happy with that, we're just going to slip stitch, but we need to change colour, so I've done that wrong. I can't even get this right. So we're going to go into there and we're going to drop that yellow yarn and we're going to pick up the last colour, which is this darker pink, which I think is a gorgeous colour. And then we're going to place that over the hook and I'm going to pull that through and then pull that through again. And again I'm just going to tighten my yarns at the back, so just give them all a little pull just to make sure it's all secure. That darker purple needs a pull. So it's a little bit fiddly to do these wings. I just want to do something a little bit different with my wings. I probably could have done my wings you know, in a different way again, but I just decided I like the idea of just doing little chains in a round. So now I'm going to do a chain of 14, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So now I'm going to go into the 12th chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 into that last stitch there. And do a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 12 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. and we are going to do a slip stitch again in the 12th stitch. So I'm just going to count again: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, and I'm just going to go straight into that 12th stitch. So it's a little bit fiddly, these little wings that I decided to do, but I'll get there. We'll get there in the end. You're just going to have to keep tightening as you go and keep pulling to make sure that they are quite secure like this. So now our wings are nearly done. We're now going to be using this same colour, and I do a chain of 1 and then turn. Actually, no turning. I'm just going to do 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Just going to pull that again, a dark purple, and then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 into the next stitch, 2 into the next stitch for 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to just simply fasten off just here. So then you just want to fasten that off just there, like so. And this is just made like a little bit here for when we sew the wings together. This is the part where we sew them all together. And then you can just cut all your yarns off and sew it all in. So if yours are a little bit wrapped around there, that will just unravel once you've cut that. So once you're just going to cut all your yarns, and then you're going to just simply just sew them in, and then we'll move on to the next wing. Okay, so once you've made 2 of your main wings, you're now ready to move on to doing your lower wings. So we're going to do the lower wings exactly the same as the main wings, except for we do them in less chains. So to do that, we're going to do a chain of 6 using your desired colours. In my case is the light purple, and a 3.5mm crochet hook, same hook as before. So now we're going to do a chain of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and last one for 6. So once you've got your chain of 6, we're now going to yarn over, and we're going to do a half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So we're going to ignore that chain, and we're going to go into this chain here, and we're going to do a half double crochet, and then we're going to yarn it over, and we're going to do another half double crochet. That's 2, and then yarn over it, and you're going to do these last 2 with a double crochet, and then 2. So now you've got 2 half double crochets and 2 double crochets. So now we're going to do a slip stitch into that same stitch as we did last time, and we're going to change colour, and I'm going to go to the darker purple. So now I'm just changing colour to the darker purple, and now we're going to do a chain of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and I'm going to turn, and we're going to do a slip stitch into the 6th chain. I'm just going to pull that taut to make sure that's nice and secure again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 into that 6th chain without getting your hook caught, of course, as I did earlier. So now I'm going to do a chain of 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Turn your work again and you're going to go into the 8th chain again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7 and 8. And then I'm going to just drop that purple yarn and we're going to do a slip stitch. I'll pull that through so the hook, 2 colours are over that hook, and we're going to switch over to yellow yarn and we're just going to make a slip stitch and chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And remember, just pull all your colours so it's on nice and secure. I can see mine are coming loose again. And then we're going to turn and we're going to do another slip stitch into the 12th chain this time. And there is stitch number 12. And then we're going to do the same again. And we're going to chain 10 again. Sorry, 12 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12. And then we're going to do another slip stitch into that stitch here again, like we did before. There's a little bit of a nuisance sometimes, so I'm just going to pull that through and then I'm going to change colour again into the dark pink, just like we did before. So it's chain 6, chain 8, chain 10 and then chain 12. I think I might have got that wrong because I chained 12 here when it's actually 10. So I'm just going to undo that. I just realised I did that wrong. Take out 2 chains. And then we're going to go into that chain space again. And then we're going to change colour again. So I just want to make that nice and secure. So drop that yellow and pick up your pink, or whatever colour you're using. In my case is this lovely dark pink colour. And I'm just going to finish that off with a slip stitch and now we can chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. And then we're going to go into the 10th chain from the yellow. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 into that 10th chain and do a average slip stitch using the same colour, chaining again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. Going into the 10th stitch again from the row below. so. So now we're going to go back into the row below. Just want to make sure all these are nicely done, and we're going to go straight into here, and we're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 for one more, and then chain 1 and turn. 1, 2, 3, and then into that last one for 4. And then you can just chain 1 and cut. Remember to cut a little bit of a tail on these pink parts. These ends here can be cut and sewn in, but when you do your last part here for this part, you are going to cut that to sew in on your wings together. So I will just quickly show you here with this one here. As you can see just here, I have used tapestry needle to sew these in for these wings. And I think these wings are quite cool actually, these chained type style wings. So yeah, you'll have 2 main wings and 2 lower wings, and when you sew them on together, you can use your tapestry needle to position them in, and then you'll sew them on the back at the end. So that is the wings done. Okay, so now we are ready to move on to the antennas. And I'm going to be using a light purple, dark purple, yellow and a dark pink and a 3.5mm crochet hook. I'm going to start by making a magic ring, and then I'm going to chain 1, 8 single crochets into the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. Take your tail and you're going to pull to close the ring, and then we're going to do a slip stitch to join that round, but we're not going to finish that round in the purple, in the light purple, sorry. We are going to finish with a new colour, which in my case it's the dark purple. I'm just going to pull that nicely, and I'm going to go into that next stitch, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 2 rounds, for 8 single crochets. 4, 5, 6, 7, last one here for 8, and then we're going to go round again. 1, 2, 3, there's my yarn, 4, 5, 6, 7, last one for 8, and I'm going to drop that colour, and I'm now going to pick up the yellow, and we're going to do 2 rounds single crochet in the yellow for 8 stitches around. Attach on your new colour if you are changing colours. Remember to keep pulling your yarns to make it secure. Going into that stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as you're working around, you can just turn this way round. That's what I like to do. Makes it easier. I'm just going to pull that taut, and that lighter purple end tail, I'm just going to pull that as well, just to tighten the end bit. So we're going to go around again for another 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last one for 8. I'm going to drop that yellow and I'm going to pick up the darker pink colour. I absolutely love this colour. This is the dark pink colour, and I'm going to do another 2 rounds of 8 single crochets. So going into that first stitch for 1, into the next for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last one for 8. I'm going to go round again one more time in this colour. So 1, 2, 3. Just move them tails up the way if they're getting in your way, like they're getting in my way. 5, 6, 7, and then the last one for 8. Now we are going to change colour one more time. We're going to change back to the yellow, so I'm going to drop this pink and I'm going to pick up the yellow. But before I do, I'm going to cut all these yarns apart from the yellow one, because this is getting a little bit messy. So I'm just going to simply cut these because we are finished with them, but I'm not going to cut the yellow because the yellow we will be using again. Just going to move these all out of the way. And then I am just going to simply keep hold of that yellow there so it's still there, and keep that there, and I'm just going to gently push these colours in here without losing the dark pink, because we haven't changed that over yet. Just so we can actually see where we're actually going here, because when you're working with colours and you've got all these colours hanging out everywhere, they do get in the way a little bit. So I'm just going to pop them inside of there, and it just saves me using stuffing as well, just using the ends of the yarn. So I'm just going to put my hook back through. We're going to finish this stitch with the yellow, and then we're going to go using the back loops only. I'm just going to push that in a bit more again. So using the back loop only, and we're going to do a round of decreasing. So that one, and then that one. Decrease 1 to the next, back loop only, 2, 3, last one for 4, thank you for all being so patient with me as well with this. So that's 4 decreases, and I'm just going to simply cut before I do. I'm just going to make a little slip stitch just there, and I'm going to make a cut. And finish that off. I'm going to get my tapestry needle now, and this end is going to go straight back inside. Just gently pull. So your yellow, you don't want to pull that too tight, because the reason for that is that is the top of the antenna, because she's got like little flowers on the top here going on, and I can just leave that tail there. We're going to use, where we've done these back loop stitches, you will be able to see this is where we're going to attach on the lighter colour. The end. Oh, the end's gone here. There we go. We're going to do 3 half double crochets in each stitch, so it's going to be a slip stitch, 3 half double crochets. So I'm going to go here where the join of the round begins. I'm going to attach my light pink yarn. This is the main colour that we were using earlier. So I'm going to attach that on, and I'm going to chain 2, yarn over, and I'm going to do 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, and then that last one for 3. So 3 half double crochets into that next stitch. You're going to do a slip stitch, yarn over into the next stitch, and we're going to do another 3, 2, and then 3, and then into that next stitch we're going to do another slip stitch, yarn over into the next stitch, and work another 3, 1, 2, oopsie, and then 3, slip stitch again, get my hook in there, into the next stitch, I'm going to do another 3, 1, 2, 3 half double crochets. So then we're going to do a slip stitch into that last stitch, and I just like to do an extra little slip stitch just on the edge here. And I'm going to cut this yarn, but I'm going to cut a little bit of length, some length, and then I'm going to pull. And I am going to sew my ends in here as well, to the best that I can. And when I've sewn them ends in, this long piece I'm going to sew down the back of here. I'll just show you quickly how I've done this, because this is the same colour as a hat. and when we sew these onto her hat, you will be using the same colour as her hat. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you can see here, I'm just using my tapestry needle going through. That yellow can be gone now, we don't need that there. We're just going to push the tapestry needle through, coming out of the centre and pull. And then you can use that then, this tail end, to sew on later when you come to sew them on the top of the hat, because they are already attached to that, so that will be a lot easier for you to attach on. And then you're just going to quickly tidy up this tail end as well, and then you're going to do that again and make a second one, so she has got two. If you wanted those a little bit higher, then by all means do a 1 round of single crochet of the purple. For this round I decided not to do that, because although her antennas are a nice size, I think maybe a little bit shorter, but that's up to you. But I've done that slightly shorter, but it's only 1 round off, and that's the only reason why. So you need to do 2 of those, and then we can move on to the next part. Okay, so for this next round we're now going to start with the wand, and for the wand I'm going to be using the darker purple and the yellow for the star on the top. So to do the wand, I'm going to start by making a magic ring, again using a 3.5mm crochet hook. So start with a magic ring, chain 1. So now we're going to do 4 single crochets into this ring. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And I'm going to pull the tail to close the ring round. I'm going to go into that very first stitch to join the round together. So now we're just going to do a 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 12 rounds. So each round you're still going to have 4 stitches all the way around, so we're no decreasing, no increasing. So we're going to go into that very first stitch and do a 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3, and then into that last one for 4. That's round 1. Into the next 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's 2 rounds. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So that's 3 rounds. So I'm going to keep working, going in a round until I get to round 12, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so once you have reached your 12th round of your 4 single crochets, we're now just going to do a little round of a decrease, which is only going to take 2. We don't need to do no, back or front loop or anything like that. We're just going to insert and do a little decrease, chain 1, and I'm going to cut some length here for this part. It doesn't have to be incredibly long. Pull that through. And I've already got the tail here that you can use, but I'll probably insert that inside anyway to hide that. But what I like to do here now is attach on the yarn into tapestry needle. I'm going to insert that right from the top, and I'm going to count roughly about 7 stitches down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is roughly about here. It doesn't have to be incredibly at that exact 7th stitch, this is just a guide for you, and you don't certainly need this amount of yarn either. So I'm just going to leave that there. And this is the tail end, and I'm just going to hide that inside. I mean, I suppose I could have got away with just using this part really, but your tail end might not be as long as mine, and I don't want to get that confused with that one, so I'm just going to pull that through, if it will. Bit of a struggle here to get that through. I think it's got caught somewhere, so that's not going to go. Okay, so I'm just going to try and see where that has got caught to. It's slipped off there anyway, so just simply cut that tail end. I'll sort that out in a minute, it's just got caught inside somewhere. So this tail end here, the way you pulled it through on the 7th stitch, is just simply to attach it to her hand, and I was just trying to hide that piece of yarn in there, but it seems I've got my tapestry needle incredibly caught inside of here. I don't think that's actually going to come through, so I don't know. So yeah, don't get your tapestry needle caught inside like I have. Not a good idea. So once you are happy with your 4 rounds, do your decrease round and cut and put your tail end through, but don't get your tapestry needle caught. Okay, so for this next round we're now going to make the star for the top of our wand, and yes, I have sorted that out. I got the tapestry needle back out, so that is now ready for the star. So to make your star, like I say, a 2.25 crochet millimeter hook and yellow yarn. So we're going to start this star with a magic ring. We're going to do 10 single crochets into this ring, so chain 1. You're going to do 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a last one for 10. And now I'm going to pull the tail, and we're going to join the round. And so make your slip stitch and join that round, and then you're going to chain 1, but now I'm just going to close the center. There we go. So next is going to be a slip stitch into that first stitch, so do a slip stitch. Into the next stitch we're going to do 4 single crochets into that same stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then the last one for 4. And then once you've got your 4 single crochets in that same stitch, you're now going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn. Then you're going to do 1 single crochet in each 4 stitches, so go into that first stitch and do 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, that's 2, into that next for 3, and then into that very last one for 4. So now you've got 4 single crochets into there, and then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. This time we're going to do 2 together, which is the decrease, so insert and then insert and then pull through all 3 loops and then do the same again. So now you have got 2 stitches and pull through all 3, and then we're going to chain 1 and then we're going to turn, and we're going to do a 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So 1 and then 2, so that's 2 stitches, and then we're going to do a chain 1 and then we're going to turn, and then we're going to do another decrease, so that will give us 1 stitch, it's quite tight and fiddly, so pull through all 3 loops, and then we're going to chain 1 and then turn again, and then you're going to do 1 single crochet at that very last stitch at the top. So that is the first part of your pointer for the star. So now we have done that, we're now going to do a slip stitch into that same stitch. So going into that same last stitch, and we're going to do a slip stitch, and this is quite fiddly too. Get that last stitch through into there, it is doable, it's just going to take a little bit of patience sometimes, especially when you're working with a smaller hook in to here. Try and get that into there again. The way I tend to do this, usually, I know what I'm doing wrong. I normally lift the yarn up a little bit extra to pull that through, and then that will then pull through that slip stitch nice and easy. So now we're going to do a slip stitch down the sides of here of the star, because we want to get it back down. That's 2 slip stitches into the next, that's 3, I think you will get about 6 slip stitches if they are evenly, 4, 5, there we go, and then right to that very base for your last slip stitch. So that is the first pointer of the star, and then we've got to repeat that all the way around, so you will then have 5 pointers all the way around. So for your next stitch is going to be a slip stitch, and then into your next stitch you're going to do 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then you're going to repeat those steps all over again of what we've done with the first pointer, and then you're just going to keep working like that all the way around until you have your star at the very end, and your star will look like this at the end of that round. Okay, so once you get near to the end now of your star, and you should be working on the back part coming down with your slip stitches, we're going to finish our last slip stitch just into here, this very last stitch. And then you can just simply chain one, and then you're going to cut some yarn. And what I like to do is when I've cut my yarn, I will use my tapestry needle and I'll just sew to the center piece of the back of the star, and that can then attach for the wand to attach on, and then you can sew that on to the wand. So you're just going to cut that off and sew with your tapestry needle up to the center and pull your tail through at the center of the star to attach the wand and the star together. Okay, so now we're ready to work onto the bib. I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook, and I'm going to be using this lovely lilac colour, light purple. So to begin, I'm going to start by making a slip knot, and I'm going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook. I'm not going to count that one, so we're just going to go into the next chain from the hook and do 1 single crochet, and you'll have 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last one for 7. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do this for 5 rows. So that's row 1, we're now on row 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that very last stitch there for 7. Chain 1 and turn. Row 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and last one for 7. Row 4, chain 1 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Chain 1 and turn. So now we're on the last row. Row 1, row 2, row 3. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. Last row for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that last one there for 7. So now we have done that, we're now going to do a 1 single crochet increase. So we're going to put an extra single crochet into that corner. So we've now got 2 single crochets in that corner, and now we're going to do a 1 single crochet in each stitch, and we're going to do that evenly around, putting 2 single crochets into each corner. So I'm going to do a single crochet, as evenly as you can. And it's quite awkward because it's quite small. Here is where we began chaining from. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the actual stitch rather than into that, well, going into the actual chain of that, simply because otherwise it will just come loose and it won't go right at all, because that knot will just keep undoing otherwise. So just keep trying this, doing your single crochets as evenly as you can, working around. When you get to your corner, remember to do 2 single crochets. And now we're going to do 3 single crochets in the same stitch on this very top corner. So I'm just going to go into that very top corner just here, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. And now we're going to do front loop stitch across to this next corner of single crochet, slip stitch, front loop only, 2, 3, 4, 5, onto that very last stitch there for 6, and now we're going to do another 3 single crochets into that same stitch. 1, 2, and then 3, and then we're going to do slip stitch into that next stitch, and we're just going to do slip stitch, and then we're going to do 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3. I didn't do half single crochets here, did I? I think I'm getting a bit tired. Right, so 1, 2, and 3. And then we're just going to do a slip stitch. That's better. And then 3 single crochets. And this was just going to do a nice little frill around the bib. Slip stitch, 3 single crochets, and then slip stitch again, 3 single crochets, slip stitch into the next stitch, another 3 single crochets, slip stitch into the next, 1, 2, and then 3, and then slip stitch into the next, another 3 single crochets, and we're just going to keep working like this till we get up this side here. 2, and then 3. Slip stitch, to the next, another 3, and then we're going to do another slip stitch, and then another 3. 1, and it doesn't keep slipping off my hook, so frustrating when it slips off. 1, 2, and again 2, last 1, 4, 3. So once you have got all the way around and you've done your slip stitch, you've done your corners of 3 single crochets, we're now just going to do a chain. Actually, I'm not happy with where that is, so I'm just going to, so I've done that slip stitch, I'm just going to make sure I go actually into the top of that chain. 2 and 3, that is a lot better. So when you do that last one, just make sure you do go straight into the top of that chain. So now we're going to do a chain of 23. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 and 23. And once you've done your 23 chain, just leave a little bit of a tail, and then you're going to insert your hook onto this side and do another chain of 23, and then you're going to cut, and that is your main part of the bib done. And then we're going to do the rainbow for the centre of the bib. Okay, so once you have done your chain here and you've just cut that off, just fasten off and cut the end of the yarn, we're now going to do the same on the opposite side. So I like to do this where I insert my hook going from the front of the bib into the corner, and just place your yarn over your hook. You're going to pull that through and then do a chain of 23. One, 2 and 3, and I'm just going to cut some length, and I'll just do one more chain and pull. So that is your bib, and then we're going to do a rainbow to put on the inside of the bib to sew that on later on. So I'm going to leave that to one side, and then we'll move on to the rainbow. Okay, so for this next part we're now going to do the rainbow for the bib, and we're going to be using a 2.25mm crochet hook, so it's a smaller hook again, light purple, dark purple, yellow and the lovely pink colour. So to do this rainbow, we're going to start by making a slip knot. I'm going to start by using the lilac colour. You can use any colour you wish. So I'm going to make my slip knot, and now I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. So now I'm going to go into the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to do an increase of 2 single crochets. And then I'm going to do a 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to do another increase on the end of the last stitch, but you're not going to finish your second stitch in the lilac, you're going to change that over to your next colour of your rainbow. In my case is purple, so I'm going to finish that stitch and chain 1, turn, and you're going to do an increase on that very first stitch, and then a 1 single crochet in the next stitch, increase into the next stitch, one single into the next stitch. At the very end here you're going to do another increase, And once again, for this very last increase, you're not going to finish that stitch, that single crochet completely. You're going to then pick up your next colour, in my case is yellow, attach on your new colour, slip stitch on, chain 1 and turn. Then we're going to do an increase on that very first stitch, then we're going to do a 1 single crochet in the next stitch, increase into the next, one single into the next stitch, increase into the next, one single, and then a nice increase on that very last stitch. And then I'm going to pick up this light pink colour, dark pink, sorry, chain 1, turn, and we're just going to repeat that again. So do your increase, one single, increase, single, just going to do that again because this hook is small, it's not really practical with a ran, but it's okay, you can work with it, it's no problem really, it just slips off sometimes. So it's just one single and then an increase all the way around. We are now at the very last stitch, and on this very last stitch you are going to finish that very last stitch with that same colour, because we are now done, and just simply chain 1, and you just want to cut, ready for sewing, and then we can just cut these tail ends. And they can all be sewn ready to go on for the bib, and that will then fit on the inside of your bib once all these tail ends are sewn in. So you want to sew them in. What I like to do is sew mine in, and I will use this side for the attaching it onto the bib itself. Okay, so now we're moving on to the last part of the accessories for our Flutter Fairy. So we're just going to start with doing the last bit, is the granny stripe blanket, which she holds in her hand, and I'm using the rainbow colours again of the light purple, dark purple, yellow and the pink. So to do the granny stripe blanket, I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook, starting with the lilac light purple. So you're going to start by making a slip knot, and then you're going to do a chain of 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. So once you've got your chain of 14, you're now going to do a 1 single crochet in a second chain from the hook, doing a 1 single crochet in each stitch. So we're going to go in second chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the last one for 13. But we're not going to finish this stitch completely in the light purple. I'm going to drop the light purple and pick up the dark purple. And then finish that stitch using the dark purple. We're now going to chain 3. And we're going to turn. We're going to do a 1 double crochet into that first stitch. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches, so 1 and 2, and we're going to do 3 half double crochets into that third stitch, 1, 2, 3, and do 3 half double crochets in that same stitch. So that's 3, and then we're going to skip 2 again, 1, 2 into that third stitch, another 3 of half double crochets, 1, 2, and then 3. Yarn over, skip 2 into the third, another 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, and then 3. And in this last stitch, 1, 2, 3, we're now going to finish with just doing 2 half double crochets into that last stitch. So 1 and then 2, but we're not going to finish that with the dark purple. I'm going to drop the dark purple and then pick up the yellow. And I'm going to switch colour to yellow. I'm going to finish that half double crochet, that very last one, in the yellow. And then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and then we're going to do 3 half double crochets in each of the chain spaces. So if you look closely, where we've skipped, we have got these chains spaces. So yarn over, and we're going to do 3 double crochets in each chain space. That's 2 and then 3, and do the same again to the next chain space, 3 double crochets, 2 and then 3, yarn over into the next chain space, and then 3, oops, 1, 2, and then last one for 3, and then we're going to do one last double crochet in the top of that chain, of the turning chain, and we are then going to finish this stitch with a change of colour, so only pull through 2 loops, drop your yellow or whatever colour you're using, and we're going to change colour again. in my case is the dark pink, chain 2, turn your work, and then we're going to do a 1 double crochet like we did down here. So this is the repeat, pattern repeat, so there's a double crochet, and then we're going to skip these 2 stitches, 1, 2, into the 3rd stitch, and we're going to do 3 double crochets. Skip 2, work 3. Actually, it's not a double crochet, that's a half double crochet. Sorry about that. Yarn over, 1, 2, and 3. Into the next one, 2, 1, 2, and then 3. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, and then 3. And then in this last stitch here, 1, 2, 3, we're now going to finish with 2 half double crochets, but as the same as before, I'm going to drop that light pink colour and I'm going to go back to my first colour. So here I'm just going to cut these yarns because we don't want the colours crossing over at the back. So I'm going to attach on my new colour, which, well, going pattern repeat, I'm going back to the first colour, which is the light purple, and then I'm going to pull that through all 3 loops, and then we are going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Had to think about it then. Yarn over. I'm going to do 3 double crochets in each of the chain spaces again. So this is the pattern repeat, so we're going to do 3 double crochets in between the chain spaces. So 1, 2, and then 3 into the next chain space, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and then 3, and then into this last chain space, we're going to do 2, I'm going to drop this colour and I'm going to pick up the dark purple, and slip stitch that on, and then we're going to do a chain of 3 and then turn your work, and then we're going to yarn over and do a double crochet in that first chain space, in that first chain, yarn over, and then we're going to skip. Actually, that looks wrong. I'm just going to take that out a moment. I'm just going to finish that off, and then yarn over. I'm going to go into this turning chain and finish that with a double, and then I'm going to pick up my purple yarn and then chain 3, turn your work, and then we'll do a double. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then into that third one we're going to do 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and then 3. Skip the next 2, 1, 2, into the third, 1, 2, and then 3. Yarn over, skip 2, and do another 3. And then we're going to go into this very last chain space and finish that with 2. But now we're going to change colour again, and we're going to go back to the yellow colour. And then chain 2, turn your work, and 3 half double crochets in between each chain again. That's 1. 2, and then 3, and this is a really lovely stitch. I really do enjoy this stitch, especially when the yarn doesn't slip off the hook. And 3. And now we are going to go back to the lilac colour. So I'm now going to do going into the top of the turning chain, going to drop the yellow. I'm just going to cut these again, and do the last row with the lilac colour. Chain 3, turn your work, going into that first chain for a double crochet. Then we're going to skip 2 stitches and do a 3 double crochets into the same stitch, but we won't be doing any more rows after this row. I keep coming out with the camera on you, sorry. 1, 2, and then 3. Skip 2. 1, 2, and then 3. And then that very last stitch on the top of that turning chain. Okay, so once you have managed to finish your lovely little granny stripe blanket, we can now work on this little border. And to start on with this border, I started over here and I chained 3. I've done 3 half double crochets in the first corner, and then just worked along in a half double crochet as evenly as I can. Into this corner I've done another 3 half double crochets, and then working along the bottom in half double crochet, get to this corner, 3 half double crochets again, and then half double crochets along this side. And I'm just going to finish on this end now, so I'm just going to go into this corner and I'm going to do 3 half double crochets into this corner. So 1, 2, and then 3. And for my border I am using a 3.5mm crochet hook, and you just want to make sure that your half double crochets are roughly about the same spaced out as evenly as you can. And like I say, when you first start with the border, it's just a chain of 2, or chain of 2 and then 3 half double crochets. So we're just doing half double crochets just evenly around the blanket, and when you are finished you can then just slip stitch, join the round together into the first corner, and then you can slip stitch, fasten off and leave a tail for sewing, because this will be sewn onto the fairy's hand just on the corner. So I'm just coming to the end now, and I'm just going to simply join this round together by making a little slip stitch, a chain 1, and then I can fasten off. And luckily I have just enough yarn to attach this onto a little hand, because I'll attach it in the corner so it's like she's holding it. So that is the little blanket. That is all the accessories done now. It's just a case of sewing her all together and doing her face and eyes and mouth. Okay, so now we are more or less ready now to start with the sewing. As long as you've got all your accessories ready to go, you are now ready for your sewing in. So I've already started by putting one of the antennas on. I've just literally, where the centre of that ring is, it's 1 row above and then about 1 or 2 stitches across, and you want to attach that on using the very bottom part of that colour so you cannot see the pink yarn onto that one. So that's one on. I need to put the other one on, so then I will attach the second one on. And once this is up to you how you decide to put all your accessories together, but I always like to start with the face first. So I'm just going to run over with you where your eyes and your nose need to go. So I have these real handy little pins here to use. This is just simply to mark where I'm going to put my face. So if you look on the back, if you didn't have the safety eyes, then you are now going to need to do the embroidery, which I'm happy to go through that with you. So at the back of your fairy, you will notice where the colour change starts, just here. So you just want to make sure you have a look at that. Roughly around about the opposite side of that is where you want your face to be, so you cannot see that, because you don't want your bare face to be somewhere near there and then you can see it, because that might upset you a little bit. So what I have done is I've counted from this very first stitch at the bottom here, and I've counted 7 rows up and placed a little pin. That's the nose. And then I've counted again 6 rows up above the nose, and you want to make sure this is in line the best that you can. And if needs be, you can always use a stitch marker to count them rows down. Put a stitch marker on the bottom of a skirt and then put a stitch marker on the other side to get a real good gauge that it is on the right side of the face. So it is 7 rows from the start to here. That's for the nose, 6 rows above again, and that is for the eyes. This center one is not where an eye is going to go. That's going to come out. That's just so you know how many rows above the nose and to make sure it's in line with the nose. So it is 6 rows above, and then it is 5 stitches across from the center one. Place another pin, and then 5 stitches across to do your embroidery of your other eye. So it's in total 10 stitches across. So I can move that out now, and I can show you how to do the first eye. So to do the eye, I'm just using a DK black yarn and a tapestry needle, and I'm going to come from the back. I'm going to insert my tapestry needle, and I want to come out right where that pin is. So this is, it can be a little bit fiddly at first, and you just want to keep going until you actually come out where that pin actually is. So I'm just going to remove that out now because we don't need it no more. And you want to pull your yarn through. You can leave a bit of a tail at the back if you like. I just leave about that amount at the back. And you want to make sure you are on the same line, which I am. And I'm going to go halfway in, but I'm going to come straight back out where I came out from the first place. So you're just going to push that through. So now you've got sort of an eye. I mean, you can keep your eyes like that if you wanted to. Go over it a few times and then that's your eye done. Or you can do a little French knot, which is what I like to do, the little French knots. So the way to do the French knots is I like to lay my amigurumi down. I'm just going to take the yarn, and you want to hold your tapestry needle as close as you can, and you're going to wrap the yarn around the tip of the tapestry needle about 3 times. You're going to go straight in through where you've already gone in, making sure you come out at the exact same place as you went in originally, and also try not to drop that knot. And you want to pull that quite gentle. You don't want to go quick because that can just not go right. And simply pull. And because I haven't used quite a lot of stuff in here, you can see I could do with more stuff in. So you can then just trim that, but I'm going to go back in again, just go back through the same hole again, and you can come back out above the eye, and you can do a little eyelash. So just come straight back out, and we're going to do a little eyelash. And you don't want that to go in completely because we can cut that later. So to do the first little eyelash, I just hold it on a diagonal, and I'm going to do 2 stitches above, so 1 and 2. So I'm going to go to there. My needle is going to come back through the first place I went in, but without going through the actual yarn fibres. You don't want to do that because it'll get caught. Just gently pull, and there's one little eyelash, and then move that up again, and we're going to have 3 stitches high this time. This eyelash is going to be a little bit higher than this first one, so 1, 2 and 3. Just going to insert up to there and put my tapestry needle back out through where we came in, and gently pull. There is 2 eyelashes, and then for the very last one I'm just going to do a little small eyelash of just 1 stitch above. So I'm just going to pull it this way, and it's going to go on a little diagonal of just 1 stitch. You might want to lay it down. Not sure if you can actually see here. And just gently pull. So that is her little eyelashes, and I'm just going to go back in and come out onto the opposite side, ready for the next eyelash. Like so. So there's 1 lot of eyelashes, and now I'm just going to do the next eyelashes. And I must admit, it does look somewhat different when you do tapestry eyes compared to the safety eyes. You can tell the difference with them, but everyone's, you know, prefers whatever they prefer. Really, everyone's different. I prefer both. I'm easy with both. I would personally, I would rather give a child a embroidery eye, but that is my personal opinion. But they do look rather good with the safety eyes as well, so it is just a personal preference on what you prefer to use. So again, we're just going to go 1, 2 stitches high on a diagonal for the first eyelash, making sure you come back out where you went, where we came out the first time, because we went across, in and across. So there's the first little eyelash. This one is 2 eyelashes, it's going to be 2 stitches above, 1, 2, 3 stitches above. The more you do these with the tapestry, the easier it does become. It does take a bit of practice. I'm still not perfect at doing these at the moment. You know, I do enjoy doing the embroidery, but at the same time I do prefer to use the safety eyes as well, especially if you're in a bit of a rush and you want to get something finished up quite quick. So again, 2 stitches across above diagonal, but if you are going to use safety eyes, you must remember to do them earlier on, and I feel like I've gone too far across here, but never mind, because I'll just take it back out to there. That definitely looks a bit too far out, never mind. Okay, so moving on to the nose, I'm just going to insert back through that same place, and I'm going to go straight out where the nose is, that pin, so that can come out now. So for her nose, I have used quite an oval shaped nose, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to do my best to do that with a tapestry. So for her nose, I'm going to go 2 stitches across from the centre and 2 stitches across from the centre for either side. So her nose is a little bit bigger than the original nose, but that's okay. And I'm just going to go across a few times, just in and out and around, like so. So 1, 2, 3, maybe go in about 3 or 4 times, it's entirely up to you, but I'm not putting no peak on the nose or anything like that. She's just going to have one sized nose. One more time maybe. And it is just your personal preference on how you want to do her little nose. And then we can come back in again to do a little mouth. So there's her eyes, a nose, and now we're going to do a mouth. I am really not happy with that eyelash. That eyelash really needs to be a little bit higher up, but it's okay. I'm just going to leave it like that. So for her mouth, I'm going to do from the centre, I'm going to do 2 stitches down, and I'm going to go 3 stitches across, so it's like a side smile. So going from the centre, 1 and 2. I don't know if you can see this. So I'm just going to come straight out of there, and she's going to have a little smile of 3 stitches across. One, three, about there. And I'm not going to pull that tight with the mouth, and just come out anywhere. I mean, you should really come out where we went in, but that's okay. I'm just going to cut that now. I'm just going to take the end and just poke that bit of black yarn back inside. And for this one, just move the camera for you. Just going to cut and poke that back inside. So there is her little face. So as you can see, she's now got a little smile, a little nose and her eyes. The antennas, as I said, you can 1 row above from the centre and then sew them on. So I can sew the second one on, attach it to your tapestry needle. So once you have the face done, it's easier to gauge where your arms are going to go, because you don't want it to be that you're going to have one arm here. So you want to make sure that your arms are as evenly apart as possible. It doesn't really matter how many stitches. Okay, so I have managed to attach her first arm on just here. When you attach her arm on, all you're going to do is make sure that the bit where we changed colour in when we first done the arm, is make sure that is facing the outer side, so then you don't get to see that. But at the same time, it doesn't really make a big difference, because she holds a little blanket when that is attached on one hand, and she will hold her wand on the other hand. You don't have to put them in that exact order of her hands. You can have the wand on that side or that side, it's up to you. So once your arms are attached on, as you can see, we cut some length. That is the length you're going to be needing to attach the arm on. Just make sure that your arms are somewhat the same either side. You can always count your stitches across to make sure that they are perfect in line, and you can use these little pins or whatever you have to mark that if you wish. So I'm just finishing off now by attaching her leg on. So the legs, they just attach on from the center. You're going to count from the center here 1, 2, 3 rows above, and you're going to start that about 2 stitches in from above. So her legs are more towards the front rather than the back, which allows her to stand or sit really. So when I'm attaching her legs on, I work with her upside down, and you're just going to keep going in each stitch just like you would with the arm. So you go through the stitch and then through the leg stitch at the very top. You don't want to go all the way through, just along each stitch. So just going through the pink and going through the top of the leg. And you're just going to keep working like that all the way around until you feel that is on secure enough. And it's quite fiddly sometimes attaching arms and legs and things on, so it's just a case of having a bit of patience with it, I suppose. Sometimes you just want to get done so you can move on to other things, or you might just want to get done with it so you can pass it on for a gift or whatever you're making it for. But just have that little bit of patience, take your time with it, you know. It's always best to have it finished nicely rather than trying to rush it, and then, you know, your finishing touches don't feel so good because you've rushed the end of it really. You know, that's what I find, that I get to this point where it's like, oh no, not all the sewing to do now, and it's quite annoying. So I'll just walk away from it for a little while and I'll go back to it a little bit later on. So there is quite a lot of sewing to do for this Flutter Fairy. I'm sorry for that. That's just because of all her accessories that she has. So when you are happy and your leg is attached on, I just like to take my tapestry needle by going through and making sure that is attached on nice and tightly, and you can just finish that off by making a little knot, just to make, like, I go in and out hundreds of thousands of times, so it will be rather sturdy anyway and on nice and secure. But I like to leave a loop, go through that loop twice, give that a pull as tight as you can, push that loop and take your needle back through and come back out, give it a tug and just give it a cut, and that is on nice and secure. That leg is not going to fall off. So that's one leg on, one arm on, face nearly done. For the bib, that's just going to fasten on, but you're going to do that after you've done your wings, because your wings are going to need sewing on. And you're going to sew your wings on once you've got your other arm on, then you can gauge for the center of the wings. So again, the wings, they just sit on as a diagonal for the 2 top wings, making sure that they are center. So 2 of them are going to sit either side that way, and then these 2 bottom ones are going to sit coming outways, so they're coming down on a diagonal. So you've got up on a diagonal and down on a diagonal, so they're going to come down on a diagonal. And then with these long tails, you're going to have quite a bit of tails left. What I do with the first one, I'll just show you. I have just done a stitching going across to fill that gap in so you can't see. So then they are attached on nicely, and then when the bib is attached on, you've got some long yarn left, and that is just going to gently fall over the center of the wings. And then that is it. Then you can attach these on either side of the hand, whichever way you prefer. So that is how Baby Flutter Fairy is made. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. I'm just going to finish sewing her off now, and she's ready to go away to someone special. And I hope you've all enjoyed today's tutorial. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube. Thank you for being on my Facebook. It's been a real pleasure. I am also on Instagram as well, and if you do make Baby Flutter Fairy, could you please post her on my Facebook page at Crochet Infusion. I'd love to see everyone's work. And that's all for today. Thank you everyone. Bye.